This time around, I'ma make it clear. Spoke some things into the universe and they appear. I say it's worth it, I won't say it's fair. Find your purpose or you wasting air. Fuck it though, y'all niggas scared.
Alright, what's up, snipers? I'm making another video. So if you didn't watch that last video from yesterday, then I suggest you go ahead and watch that so you can understand what I'm talking about. So here we have our structure. We connect our trend lines from our structure, and we are currently in that rise and wedge. So right here, I'm showing you this algorithm right here that we created. If you see that cup and that selling pressure coming straight down, if you look, that's exactly how we ended today. We tapered all day just so we could form that same algorithm. So now what I'm going to be looking for tomorrow is the same selling pressure going down to that 422.15 area, testing previous lows from, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday. I believe Wednesday last week. So I'm going to be looking for that same algorithm to happen, the cup form, and then we reject off the trend line and then go down to 422. So for buyers, what I'll be looking for is, so I want to see that. I want to see us break the trend line, then go to our 427.20 area. I want to see us bounce. And if we bounce, that's when our cup and handle will be complete and we could shoot up to that 430.90 area, completing our bigger cup and handle. And then if we shoot up, break that, and then bounce off of 430.90, that's when we can start to see us shoot up to higher and retest that 432 area again, and then head towards 434 and so forth. So that's what I'll be looking for the upside. So levels right here, 434 and 435.90 to the upside. Then we got to make sure that we watch out for this resistance area right here though. 429.20 is an area right there that we could possibly reject that. And that's probably what we will reject that before we bounce, if we was to bounce off that 427.20 area. So I'll look for that before we bounce off our trend line and then completing that cup and handle and going to 430.90, then 434, then the 435.90. To the downside, what I'll be looking for is for us to retest that AVWAP at 426.28. So if we do break that AVWAP at 426.28, then we could start to see us go back and head towards that 425.10 area, possibly bouncing off of that, or 425. We have to be careful because we're still in that selling channel or rise and wedge. And if you don't remember what I was talking about, the rise and wedge, I'm gonna post a link right up to the top right corner where you can watch the last video where I explained about the possible rise and wedge that could shoot us up. So you see this right here, it's the algorithm, same thing that I'm looking for. I was showing you that we formed Friday and then we fell on Friday. We could possibly fall tomorrow. So I'm going to be looking, if we reject off that 427.20 area, we could automatically just flush and retest that 422 area before going ahead and seeing lower. Remember I told you guys, once we lose that 422 area, the sellers are in control. So once again, go ahead and watch that video that I put out yesterday, just so you could be caught up and not too confused about what I'm looking for. So yeah, I'm watching that 425.10 area. That's a very important area. You see a lot of liquidity has been being built in that area. So now we need to know if it's going to be grabbed to complete our cup handle to the upside, or if it's going to be being grabbed to complete that algorithm that we had Thursday leading into Friday's flush. Once again, we can start the day and just flush. Our 20-day moving average is at 426.50. Our 5 DMA is at 427.04. Now, on to Apple. For Apple, 5 DMA is at 171.71, and our 20-day moving average is at 172.48. So for Apple, we have a huge cup and handle that could possibly form. If we break through 174.68 and then bounce, we could shoot up and see that 176, 178, 179 number. So that's something to look out for. If we break up past 174.68 and bounce, we can complete the cup and handle buyer step in, because then we could just push up and it's not much resistance to the upside as of now, since we got right on top of the 5 DMA and 20-day moving average. Keep in mind we have our AVWAP at 174.19 as well, so we could start the day and go ahead and retest that automatically. Let me pull out this. So we can go ahead and retest this AVWAP 174.19. So we can either reject or break it. If we break it, then we can see resistance at 174.68. So 174.70 before felling. If we'll reject there, then we go ahead and retest that 20-day moving average, 5-day moving average. 20 days at 172.48. 5 DMAs at 171.71. And then to the upside, we got to remember we got all this. Well, we do have resistance. This is a heavy level right here, as a matter of fact. Sorry about that from earlier. If we could break that 174.68, then we know buyers is really strong because there's a lot of resistance there. Then we can see the 176.55 area. Then we can see our 178 area and our 179.15 area. Remember, 174.70 area is a lot of resistance. It's a lot of strong resistance there. If we break that level, then there's not much resistance to the upside. We could go up. So to the downside, we get through the 20-day moving average and the 5-day moving average, then we can go ahead and break that, and then we can see 170.36. Below 170.36 will give us 169.70. Below that will give us 168.82. Again, if you didn't watch the last video, I suggest you watch it so you can see what that 168.82 area means to us. So, and for Apple, let me draw. Also to the downside, we do have a lot of resistance as well that we got to keep an eye on. So to the downside, it's not likely that we could, that we would drop to the downside, because a lot of this, remember, SPY does follow Apple. But if we do break these levels, then those sellers is in full control. But keep in mind, Apple has confluences to hold them up. There's a lot of confluences to hold them up so that cup and handle and SPY could form. Now for Tesla, looks pretty nice. We ended the day pretty strong after a volatile day. Keep in mind, after delivery numbers, Tesla stays volatile for a few days. So we're above the 20-day moving average at 249.87, and then we're above the AVWAP at 248.48. We're above the 5-day moving average at 246.27. So for Tesla, what I would be looking for is more than likely a battle of the 20-day moving average and 5-day moving average for us to go back down and retest those to see if we will bounce depending on the movement we make in the pre-market, we won't know where we will start off at. But let's just say we don't gap up or anything. Let me draw my trend line. Remember, structure connects with structure. So we're going to draw areas to connect the structure together. And this is something that we will have to remember and keep in mind, just in case we think Tesla is going to take off and fly. And this is why we kept respecting the trend line coming down and then rejecting and then breaking with a fake out and then come back down and retest. So now I'll be looking for us to go back up and do the same thing with Tesla. 2 days though. 2 times we fell back under that trend line. The third time is where I'm starting to look for us to drop. So now I'll be looking for us to go ahead and test that 252.80 to 253 area before seeing 454 area where we could possibly reject. If we possibly reject, we can bounce off that 253 area. That's what I'll be looking for. So I'm looking for us to head to 254.10, bouncing off of 253, and then headed to 256.25, and then headed to 261.90. So we need to break 253 and then retest the 254.10, possibly bouncing off of 253 before we see anything higher up. That's what I'm looking for. To the downside, I want to see us retest the 20-day moving average at 249.87, the AVWAP at 248.48, and then we have our orange line, which is the 5 DMA at 246.27. Keep in mind we could bounce right here because candles bounce off of candles around that 247.50 area. We could bounce, and then if we lose that, then we have our support at 245.27. If we lose that, then we know for a fact sellers is strong because that's a lot of confluences. If we lose that, then that important 239.75 area comes next. And if we lose
But I know you still great in spite of your mistakes.
635.
Before you run your race, you gotta find the pace. Just make sure you cross the line and fuck the time it takes.